Gaming is on fire at the moment, but I say that in the most negative way possible, at least in some ways, because in fighting games especially, there are two games that are not receiving pretty well at the moment. And then when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2, that's also been under fire as well. But let's talk about fighting games first, as always. So let me go ahead and fire up the sound right here.
This battle is about to explode.
Explosions indeed were had. Like I said, like in the worst way possible ish. So Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves, once again is featuring a real lifer, as I guess we're calling them now, or at least at the moment. Before I go ahead and play this video, did you know this man? Do you know the man in question being featured in the recent reveal?
Honest opinion?
Honest, be honest.
Shit.
Be as honest as
I
you.
cannot.
Yeah.
I wish I could pull up the meme. Fuck it. Who?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. We have Salvatore Ganacci, I believe his name is. So, I did not know this man before he was revealed here, and you can already tell the thumbs ups to thumbs downs or likes to dislike ratio. No, people are not messing around this time, right? Right off the bat, this was not universally acclaimed, or you could say liked, right? People are already fed up with the real lifer stuff, but you have to understand the circumstances of why this is happening. But first things first, I did a little bit of research as to who this guy is, and from what I've actually gathered, right? Even though he is appearing in a fighting game like this, like a Fatal Fury, for example, he's actually not that famous. He's not world famous. A lot of us don't know who he is, and I don't think people in Europe, because obviously that's where he's from, the region wise, I don't think he's that big either, from what I've gathered. Right. Just a little bit of based upon a little bit of research I did, and when you look at it, he has a YouTube channel, of course, and when you look at his YouTube channel, it only has 500K subs when you compare that to like other YouTubers and such, right? So he's not even that much more famous than your kind of like your, I don't want to say run of the mill, but like your average content creator you go and watch, right? He only has 500K, barely 500K at that, I think. So he's actually not that famous, as weird as that sounds. So it's not strange actually to not know this man, right? Allow me to show why this is kind of happening. Previously I did say it, but I didn't even know like the full details, or at least more details on why this is happening. So Zawa, could you read that first paragraph of the wiki article of SNK?
In November 2020, the MISC, am I pronouncing that foundation right?
MISC, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the MISC Foundation, a non-profit organization owned by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Mohammed bin Salman.
Salman
acquired a 33.3% share of SNK from the Chinese company Ledo Millennium through its subsidiary Electronic Gaming Development Company, also known as EGDC, with the intention to acquire a further 17.7% share at a later time as to gain controlling interest in the company. Ooh.
Yes. So basically that means he owns that shit, right? He basically owns a good chunk of SNK. And when you look at the person in question, the prince in question, yes, he is at the moment the de facto ruler of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Isn't that crazy? Like, can you imagine like a prince, right, owning a video game company? You know what I mean? And this is the closest thing we have to reality. So yeah, so apparently, yeah, and yes, he is the heir apparent of the Saudi throne, seventh son of King Salman of Saudi Arabia. That and then yeah, he is the grandson of the nation's founder, Ibn Saud, Ibn Saud. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but basically, he comes from a big family. He comes from a very, very powerful family. And this guy, of all things, owns a good chunk of SNK. So yes, so he does directly have a saying as to how things go in the SNK operations, at least to a strong capacity, which explains largely why we've seen Ronaldo, right, the last real lifer, quote unquote, revealed before Ganacci was recently revealed. So, and if you can start to connect the dots, right? Ronaldo, I believe, played for a team that's under the ownership of Saudi Arabia, or basically Salman, right? And then I guess with Ganacci, I can only say or assume that Salman likes Ganacci as a DJ, right? So that's why I guess he threw him in there, is what I can only conclude. Because otherwise, I don't know, maybe Ganacci is under like a studio that's owned by Salman or something, or at least he has a big stake there as well, or a big share there as well. So but basically, that is why. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has a saying in SNK, more specifically Fatal Fury, for whatever reason, because he could have done things also to KOF 15, but I guess not. But for whatever reason, Fatal Fury is the game where he wants to have his favorite people, I guess, in a fighting game. So that is largely a reason. I don't know. I mean, of course, I'm sure there's other reasons why these specific people are included in here, but largely, it is this man behind the selection of these people. So, any comment on that particular bit here? I know it's a
No,
lot to
it's
take
worse
in.
right now.
I know it's a lot to
But
take in.
it's more like I don't know what to believe now. Are
Yeah.
we in a simulation?
Yes. So yeah, obviously Saudi Arabia has its own sort of, I guess you could say, skeletons in the closet, right? And then, but now and you throw in the crown prince of all people being involved with this development, right? Of Fatal Fury, this is a weird timeline, man. This is such a weird lifetime that we live in. A
I
crown
don't want.
prince, right? Yeah.
I don't want to be. I don't want to live in this dimension anymore.
Right. Could you imagine, right? Nintendo under the wing of the emperor, or at least the emperor's son, Like, could you imagine that? Could you imagine
I
what?
was gonna,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, could you imagine Nintendo being owned by if she was still around, Queen Queen Elizababeth?
Elizabeth, yeah, yeah, like she likes Nintendo
Which I
so.
wouldn't doubt that she does play Nintendo games. I wouldn't doubt, but
Mm-hmm.
she has to be like quiet about it.
Mm-hmm. Or at least her children's children's children or whatever, right? So yeah. Yeah. So that is already a lot to take in, and in fact, we can even like look up Ganacci right now, and when you look up this gentleman in question, doesn't have a whole lot to go off of, right? Right, look, you can see how big this wiki article is, right? Not too big. Ah, he's actually 4 years older than us. That's one thing to know, I guess. Um, yeah, so it just says that he's a Bosnian Swedish DJ and record producer, and his performances at Tomorrowland, which is a music festival, by the way, and I think Belgium, yeah, Belgium, went viral. But this was during 2018 and 2019, and I guess he is to a degree, yeah, popular. Obviously, he has some sort of popularity. Yes, let's not deny that. But to be like world famous or to the scale of like Ronaldo, I don't think so. Because everyone, you and I knew who Ronaldo is. Yes, so we at least know like the name. We recognize the name. But point is, yes, we're both familiar more with
Yep.
the soccer world as to the DJ world, I guess. It's hard to say as to is he like likable? Is he more infamous or is he famous? Right? Like, yeah, that I don't know. Um,
And it's like maybe it's like one of those DJs that we may have heard their music, but we
uh-huh.
just didn't pay attention and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I mean,
go ahead.
I was gonna say if we wanted to put like a DJ, thing, another DJ and stuff, fucking put Shaq.
Yeah. I would have taken Shaq at this point because at least he was in some sort of like quote unquote fighting game, but or it was more like a brawler, but fighting game of sorts. Because at least, yeah,
If
we know him. He's pretty famous
It's
throughout.
pretty chill.
Yeah, and he's pretty chill. And then I'm sure he actually knows like some form of video game culture. Okay,
Yep.
so we're gonna have somebody real life. I think Shaq would have been a more fitting person, right? But let me take this even further, right? If we're gonna have another real lifer, let's be real. Could we at least have somebody from the SNK community who actually like is a heart,
Place.
yeah, who plays the game, who loves the game, who actually like is passionate about the game? I mean, call it cringy, yes, because real lifers are, featuring in the video game straight up is some form of cringe, I guess. Why not throw in Shao Hai, for example, right? Or, at least somebody like Shao Hai into the game. Because at that point, it's like, why not? You know? Real lifer, whatever, right? But this is a matter of the Saudi Arabian prince, Salman, right? I think I can only assume that he likes this particular DJ, and he got him in there, somehow, some way. At least with Ronaldo, I can understand a little more, just a tiny bit more, because yes, Ronaldo did play for a team that's under the sort of the ownership slash stakes of Saudi Arabia somehow. So it makes a little more sense, but still cringe. That's just my two cents on that. So with all that said, why is this being disliked? Let's go ahead and talk about that before we even play the video. First off, and I would say, simply put, it's because imagine, right? You have this established universe full of these like, fight. Let's just isolate fighting games in this case. You have these people, right? You have these characters who have been long
Yep.
established in this universe, and they're supposed to be, like either superhuman or peak human, fighters, right?
Yep.
So when you throw in a real life person straight from real life, not even like a characterization of that real life person, then that starts to interrupt the lore, because now you're telling me this person can keep up with all these peak humans or the superhumans, right, in this world. So that really throws a wrench into that whole like the I guess the power scaling or just the weight of these people, right? And then the also just a simple fact that this is a game that deserved this long awaited return, and only to have two character slots taken by the two real lifers in question, right? When that could have been also more returning characters that we've been or fans have been waiting for a long time. One being Duck King, right? He's been like talked about, requested. He's like this joke character, right? But Ganacci here is probably like now the joke character in this game. Unfortunately, I don't know. Um, it's not the I don't know. It's hard to say,
It's
but
hard to say, and it's like again, if we, I want to say in a true timeline,
mm-hmm,
if we were gonna bring like a famous DJ and stuff
yeah,
again, besides Shaq, I don't know how they will get the money.
mm-hmm,
I would love to see also how they would play in like an SNK universe or maybe Capcom universe.
mm-hmm.
Put those two fuckers into a fucking fighting game.
I'm sorry, who?
Oh, Daft Punk.
Daft
Put those
Punk,
two fuckers in.
right? Yeah. I mean, at that point, we should just have a dedicated fighting game then with all these famous people, and we've already done that. It's called Def Jam. We've There you go, right? We've had this, and it's not so much putting in real life people is the problem of itself. It's the fact that this is an already established universe with established characters, and we've been waiting for these characters for a long time to make the return to the modern age, right?
Yep.
But now you throw it in, but the wrench has been thrown because you have these real people, throw it into the game, and now it's actually considered canon in some way, and also the fact that they're taking up the slots away from more of the long-awaited return of the characters, right? Certain characters, right? So it's basically imagine take any well-established game universe, right, or game franchise, like let's say Zelda, right? You have Ganondorf, you have Link, you have Zelda, but then throw in fucking like oh like a random ass celebrity, like let's say the Hawk Tuah
George Clooney.
George Clooney. I was going to say the Hawk Tuah girl, but whatever. George Clooney. Not even like a character played by George Clooney, but
Yeah.
yeah, but George Clooney himself thrown into the game. Like doesn't that not feel awkward like initially right away? I think that's what we're getting at, right? And that is why it has this many dislikes and all that stuff. It only has apparently a 40% like ratio. So that's very much telling of how people feel about this move right here. Mm-hmm.
I think if they were gonna again for like real life like for in video games, it's like I have no problem, but for like this case, it looks like it's centered to like one like um it's the word niche, like
Mm-hmm.
one little niche group in the community that probably like knows this person better than the rest of the world
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. It's kind of like that big ass balancing act. It's like
Mm-hmm.
how many people will know this person,
Mm-hmm.
and as you were saying, this is a wasted slot, and it's more on like how many are going to play him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not uh I guess again part of
The SNK
that niche
community.
group.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like how like, I totally get what you're trying to get at. Yeah, because like this is supposed to be a way to bring in the non SNK people, right? The new audience, the completely different demographic to hopefully bring into here. But at the end of the day, this is a fighting game, right? One of the most brutal video gaming franchises, or excuse me, genres to learn because of the nature of the fighting game. And I don't want to get into that too much because that's already going to be taking long enough. But basically, it's going to have its 2 weeks, and those people are going to be off, and that's going to only remain the hardcore fighting game enthusiasts and such, and especially the SNK enthusiasts or the Fatal Fury players, right? The people who are actually wanting this game for a long ass time, you know. And could you imagine again? Could you imagine top eight a debut top eight at Evo, and the grand final is between Ganacci and, and Ronaldo, right? Could you imagine that? Or like just all the top eight matches is just Ganacci and Ronaldo picks. Oh my god, that'd be awful. Right. That would suck too because like potentially this could be the Evo that I come back to, right, in real life, right? But then you have that happening or possibly happen. That would be awful. It'd be funny for like a minute, but yeah, it would be awful because it's such a like spit in the face for people who want to see Terry and Rock and B Jenny and like so on and so forth, right? And so many other FF characters, the Fatal Fury characters, right?
Yeah, and I was like looking like when was the last time we ever got in a Fatal Fury game? A Fatal Fury game.
Yeah, right. It's been a long time, very very long time.
Yeah.
We haven't, yeah, because we haven't had, yeah.
Our last official like Fatal Fury game. I mean, I guess you can count the collector, like the collection.
Yeah, collection stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
18 years ago.
18 years ago. Even the collection stuff is 18 years ago. Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
And then for Garo, Mark of the Wolves, which I guess was the last like Fatal Fury game as a whole, was 26 years ago. It was when we were 9 years old.
That is my
the gray hair. You saw that, everyone? I saw the gray hair. It popped out. It just popped out.
It popped out.
Once I said 9 once I said 9 years old, he's like,
So, okay, let me check out the Ronaldo video now. Let me see how many dislikes or whatever. See, look at this, right? It's such a stark contrast because Ronaldo, for the most part, Ronaldo has been also like a mixed bag too, but and yet this has a very overwhelming positive ratio.
Yeah, success.
Yeah. Whereas this is very very stark contrast.
Yeah.
Right. Is it just solely because a lot of people don't know who this guy is, or is there more to it? Right. I don't know. I don't know. Although it's funny because we know this man has been in trouble at some point.
Yep.
With Ronaldo, right? So, and then Ganacci, I don't know. I don't know what his record is like. I don't know if he ever got in trouble with anything or anyone. I don't know. Right? On top of the fact that we don't know this guy, right? So he doesn't have quite the bullseye on his back like Ronaldo. Because yeah, you can definitely say Ronaldo is a superstar, You could say that. But Ronaldo, or no, excuse me, Ganacci, not so much, I don't think. And then oh my god, this part. Oh my god.
That impact was so fucking crap.
Very just
It's like,
yep.
done.
Yep. It's not even like
At least have the well, not Terry, but the opponent when they land explode into the fucking
Yeah,
sound bars,
yeah,
sound
something
cubes.
yeah, like more sound cubes, like like particles, like blah, like spill or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, but it's just spit. It's just
and I was
little.
like, "Bleh, done."
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
it's like again they're just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Ta-da! It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah, and then at least with this one is still awkward too, yes, but it has the the pose and the explosion and whatever. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, and then this part too, like the punching apparently is from like a I don't know a commercial or like a music video he did, and apparently he's doing that to a grandma in the music video. I kid you
What
not.
is wrong with you?
Yeah, right. He's like punching a grandma to the beat, which is very strange. I don't know the context of it, but whatever. And then he's like, what the fuck is he doing? Is he just he's just like pushing Terry's face? Like what?
And again, it doesn't even look like it has impact. You're just going.
No. Like the only like prominently or even remotely funny part is the punch. Like, the punching to the beat. Okay, maybe I can kind of get behind that. But the rest of it is just like very like just lame is all I can just say. All right, there's a bunch of kicks them up, and then they just plop to the floor, and then that's it. That's his level 3 super. Like, really? And maybe somebody at SNK did not even give a fuck, and they just put the minimum in there.
Yeah, minimum effort.
Yeah, minimum effort. Like, fuck this. Yeah. I mean, maybe the character, his character archetype could be fun. Whatever. I could care less. But the fact that he's taking up a slot, and like I don't know if he cares for SNK or KO or Fatal Fury. I don't know.
I mean, kind of like everyone on Twitter or online, to be more exact, when stuff happens like this. Oh, it's a free advertisement. Free exposure.
Right.
Like you can do it more tastefully.
Yes,
But,
exactly.
that's just me.
There's always better ways to do it, and yeah, it just also paints a kind of a bad picture for long term in the way because well, we also talked about this. What if Ronaldo's or Ganacci get into more trouble, right? And then what? You know what I mean? Now we have to likely ban the two characters from being picked in a tournament, especially if it's like a SNK World Tour tournament, you know. And now you have two character slots being completely wasted, right? Let's take a look at the comment. I'll never make fun of Mortal Kombat guest characters ever again. That's funny. That is funny.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah. This game is turning into somebody's personal Mugen. Yeah, that's also what I've been seeing a lot too. The fact that they're adding these guys and then will make you pay the DLC versions of actual characters from Fatal Fury is hilarious. That's the thing too. Like
Yep.
that's also a mind-blowing thing to think about. 2 day guys, April Fools was 2 days ago. Guys? That's the comment. I like that. There is no internet lore more elusive to me than that of Salvatore Ganacci. He's been around for years and I still don't know who he is or what he does. He just keeps appearing in the oddest places in the strangest ways. That's exactly what it is. Again, that is exactly what it is. Mr. Bean next. Yeah, I mean, I take Mr. Bean over fucking these
I'll
two
take
people.
Miss Bean.
Yeah, I take Mr. Bean over those two people any day, any fucking day. Because that's a character, right? At least that's not so much of a
Yep.
real life person, but yes, it is using a real life person's face that we're so strongly associated with.
Mhm.
But still, it's a character. If these two characters were just like standalone DLCs for like what $10, I could bat an eye on it, right? But the fact that these are characters in the base roster is what makes it worse too. Base roster. You're definitely going to see these characters in the story one way or the other. This also is what's not a great choice overall.